especially top companies.
Wow.
Very many companies, especially top companies, they do this a lot because their software has to be able to pass through different measures. There are different types of unit tests. I mean, they're literally called tests, but unit testing is one of them, the different types of tests that happen. There are also usability tests. Their tests are on different levels. So your software is supposed to be tested on different levels. And sometimes you don't really need, before you send out, let me say, a better version of it, you first do your internal testing. So that's just a brief overview. I don't know if it's kind of clear, but it's a very, 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 very important aspect of writing code.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's clear. And Henry, what do you say?
So maybe another question is, do we have like a central platform for unit testing, or you have to set up for separate?
You have to set it up. You have to set it up. Thankfully, WordPress already has instructions on how you can set up unit tests, but you have to write your own tests for your code.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much, Faith. So can I say something like in regards to unit testing?
Yes.
Yeah. So what happens is how can I term it? Okay, there are two things. There are manual tests and automated tests. So if you are a person who has ever driven a car or who drives a car, you know that there is a car where you have to control the gear. In Uganda, we call them gears, right? So you keep changing the gear manually by yourself. You have to know that I'm in number 1, now I'm in number 2, now number 3, 4, 5, or reverse, okay? Now you put them by yourself, but you also know there are cars where the gears are automatic. You just put in the key, you release the brake, and then you accelerate, right? So the more you keep your foot on the more you keep your foot on the accelerator, the more this car's movement is gonna be stable. And if you push the foot slightly deeper, the car is going to increase the speed. That's the manual car, and it will change. I mean the automatic car, and it will change the gears by itself. Okay, so what happens is that the way we are testing code now, as in the way you see the way we are testing it in the class, in the sessions, is that we are writing code, then we have to go to the browser and check whether what we want to see or whether our aim is what we see. Okay, so that is a sort of test, but it's called a manual test. Okay, because you have to write the code, then you don't know if it's really okay or not, then you go to the browser or whatever outputs your code to see. Now what Faith is referring to is, even before going to the browser to see, you implement something, okay? And that something we implement is called a test case, all right? So say, for example, she has referred to the calculator, and in the calculator, you're gonna have a lot of features like functionalities like addition, multiplication, division, subtraction, these are, how do we call them, squares, so on and so forth. Now, you don't want the person to enter a figure in the calculator and then they are aiming to add. But now when they start to add, say for example, adding a positive and a negative, you know, and they start getting maybe let me say they add +1 plus -3, and instead of getting -2, they get +2. You don't want that to happen. If you do a manual test, something like that is gonna happen. Why? because you will write the code and all you want it to do is to give you a result that is an addition, isn't it? Now, when you go in the browser, you realize that, oh, my code actually adds two numbers, but it gives me a wrong answer. If you set a test case for example, for testing whether the addition is correct, okay, what you are going to do is you are going to come up with a lot of like more than one test case. You are going to define a test case for negatives, a test case for zeros, a test case for whether someone has supplied the number or not, a test case for whether someone has actually carried out the addition operation or not. Then those are 4 test cases. And when you start testing, you just write a PHP command and it runs all the tests for you. And it tells you that when you input 1 plus 2, you were expecting 3, and indeed you've gotten 3. When you don't put a number and you press the addition symbol, and you press a figure, we consider that you've not summed, but you just meant that you want to put a positive, which you are now going to add it to. So you get a lot of like, before you output anything, you will be more confident that the code I've written, besides it being that it does not give me errors, like the fatal errors, the whatevers, besides that it's not giving me those errors, it's also not giving me wrong results. You get, that's the thing about testing. And today we've just discussed about unit testing, but there are other kinds of tests like the integration, which you do after the unit. Then there are other tests like the functionality test. Those are the ones where you test like it's there somehow like end-to-end tests where you test the user interface. Then there are acceptance tests. But unfortunately, especially in emerging economies, that's why if you see people from developed countries fear to hire from these ends, because we have a lot of I think they are called knowledge gaps, where you know how PHP works, you know how the loop works, the condition works, the data type, but then there are some things which are called coding standards that we do not put into the picture at all. For us, as long as the code works, we don't care how it appears. Some of us don't care how it appears in the code editor. You don't know if I give it to someone, how are they going to see it? We don't indent, we don't do this. Now we don't do like there's something called I don't know. Do you know that Faith, have you heard about PC? Is it PCS? I think that PHP
PCS.
thing, which that thing which is it does like defines how you are going to define files in your code. So it's like a prettier for JavaScript. Yeah, it's just
PHP code sniffer.
Yeah. I think that that's it. So we don't care about those things, most of us, and it makes life difficult. So that's why you see me teaching people. You get, most times, that it is constraining. There are times I sit until 11, 10, but that Africa needs a developer who is better, developer who is going to apply for a job in Google, and they don't complain that, he does not feel like he has been left out. He does not feel like I'm not given the opportunity because I'm from Africa. But we should know that we are going to be given opportunities on merit, on performing well, on putting in that extra effort and learn the right things instead of rushing for money. And then when a big opportunity comes, we rush to that opportunity, yet we are not qualified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're very, very right. You're very, very right. I actually found that to be also one of the biggest challenges. I was thinking to myself, if I had been told while at campus that the stuff I learned, especially when we were studying, I think it was called Principles of Programming. I don't know if they still teach it there at campus, but when I was at campus, we had a course unit called Principles of Programming, and it was where they literally taught us the coding standards and what makes code, code. And of course, for us, we're just doing a course unit. But now, all these years that I've spent coding, I come to realize that actually those were the things that were very, very important. And if I had learned and put an emphasis on practicing them when I started out, I think it could have made me a better programmer. I think when you're starting out, don't undermine those small things that they may not really do much for you in per se. Like you get a client and they want you to do a plugin for them, or they want you to write some code for them. They may not really do the stuff of making the plugin work, but they are so basic that they elevate your skill. And when you come to working like in a team, or when you go to apply for jobs with those big organizations, you find like those are the things that they really put an emphasis on. And if you cannot practice them and do them, if you cannot apply coding principles, coding standards in your code as you are writing it, that also includes unit tests, and there are also many others, We are fortunate enough that now the editors that we use, you can integrate some of these tools in them to help you actually clean up your code. But it's very good that you actually learn how to do it yourself, such that in case you're met with a circumstance where you don't have the, let me say like PHP, the sniffing tool to help you identify if your code is following the PHP coding standard, you can be able to do it yourself. If it's writing unit tests, we now have tools that can actually help you with some of this. Sorry, it helps you set up all the tests quickly, but you still have to, it just gives you a small window to do your own tests. I think one of those tools is coding. It's called what? Codeception, Codeception. But it's also good that you know the entire basics of how do I set up my own unit tests, How do I come to the point whereby now I can test my own code without needing an external software, an external tool to help me with this? And those are things I wish if I had taken them with high importance when I started out, I also think I could be a much better developer than I am now.
Thank you for thank you for confessing that. Actually, the course unit you've spoken about at university, I think it's called Solid Principles, right? Solid Programming Principles.
That was part of the topics in the course unit.
Oh, okay. Was it programming patterns and something like that? Design patterns and what? Anyway.
No, for us it was called Principles of Programming. But I think they keep on changing its name and depending where. Yeah, Sharon says that also them when they studied it was called Principles of Programming.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, Principles of Programming.
Okay.
So others call it programming fundamentals.
Yeah. Oh, that's what some call it. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys for giving us the name. I've really I've looked at some notes and handouts for university students, and I see they teach those things, but they don't take them serious at the campus. They just give them notes and they wait for the exam. Then at the end of the day, they have to do a project. Now, when they are doing the project, lecturers and supervisors focus on what have you done than focusing on how have you done it. Do you get? They usually focus on what have you done and probably why. They are so in other words, you are a university student whose aim is maybe to get a job in a bigger company, but these guys want you to give a reason that is entrepreneurial or business related. That I've done this because there's a company I went to that does internship and they have this problem, you know. So kids start forging things. You find that people leave campus when they don't know at all a single piece of HTML code, yet they have been studying computer science. If a person was studying information technology, I would say, okay, for you, you look at a lot of things, maybe you are used to a certain technology. So, but if a person has studied computer science, software engineering at a bachelor's level, and they come out, you sit with them and you start telling them, you're asking them, so what do you know about HTML? Can you do an HTML website, a basic website which has services, home, about us, link it properly, and put in images? I can assure you, many, majority won't be able to do that, you know, simply because they are trained to pass exams, you know, and also trained to trained to act on the impulse of their fears, you know, because a supervisor will confront you. Why did you build that? So for example, a university kid will come and say, you know what, I've created a human resource management system. For me, as David, who has been in programming, if you're a student, I'm not really after your business, you know, your business acumen. I'm after, since you're a student and you've been studying technically, computer science's basic goal is not you to be an entrepreneur, but the basic goal is for you to build systems that help people. Okay, so you built a human resource management system. All right, how did you come up with it technically? You know, which technologies did you choose? Are these technologies you studied at campus here, or are they technologies you've learned on your own? Does it produce an error or not? Can we look at the code and maybe I tell you where to go and fix? But my dear, that's why many of you, for me, somehow I'm lucky. I must be lucky. I know that the world cannot give me the opportunities that it can give those people who went to campus easily. It can give me, but I mean, it is coming late. But the truth of the matter is that I'm happy that I did not waste my time. I would be regretting now. I would be like, oh my God, I spent all of that money and 3 or 4 years. There's nothing that is really painful to me than my time. You know, it's really, really sad that someone in Europe or some part of Africa can go for a boot camp for 6 months and they come out when they are totally better than a person who has been at campus for 3 years. Yet these people who have gone for a boot camp of 6 months are even migrating from another profession. Let me say a person who, like, take for example Lawrence Bahira, a person who is a professional accountant, switching to coding and even self-taught coding, and even understands the concept, writes the code cleaner. It's better, it's more standardized than a person who has spent 3 years. Some of them even go for masters and they are still like, man, I don't know, but thank you for talking to us, Faith. This came as a blessing in disguise. And thank you, Sharon,
Really?
for allowing Faith to come in.
I'm sorry for consuming your time as well.
David.
Yes, please.
This is even worth a Tuesday, and we call it a week, because this is the basics people want to do. These are now, no, not really, but these are the better truths. I happen to be a victim of this. At a point I reached, and I thought I wasted money for a degree. Because okay, most things I do, Even I've been in system administration, but most things I do was self-taught outside the lecture room. Yeah. Me, after my degree, I got a second class lower.
Okay.
And I was chosen to start lecturing.
Oh.
My lower, we had guys who had first class. But in books, they have a first class, but they cannot do anything. Someone cannot even troubleshoot. Someone cannot even create a simple website, but has a first class. So the world has really changed, that we need to change on how we do things. That's why you see some of us now giving in more time on realizing a new life of technology. I've met most people who are very successful in tech, but when you ask them, like you remember last time I asked you, how did you come to this? And your story was very, very outstanding. Something I was waiting for. I've met many people with the same experience.
Wonderful.
I learned this out of outside class.
Yeah.
Which leaves a lot of questions. I've seen many software engineers who cannot write any line of code, who doesn't have any application running, or even a website hosted.
But they have
first class. They have first class in software engineering.
But how?
Now that's a question. It's a general question. Somebody has a first class degree in software engineering from Makerere, but doesn't have even a single website running in the cloud.
Man,
so you end up in another field. Some others. In my year when I studied, honestly, I'm the only person in technology.
Are you sure?
Most of my guys are in business, others are in other things.
My goodness. That is now scary, because but anyway, it's scary, but I think I'm used to it. Why do I say so? There is an institution, it was a small institution where I went to volunteer as a guest lecturer, something like that. It wasn't a university, but people used to go to this institution to gain practical skills. Okay. And those people could come from university and they are at the internship level. But my dear, they knew nothing. The institution also did not have what to give them. The institution is telling the teachers, you come up with the ideas, but the teachers are not earning enough. So they also keep running away until the institution closed. Okay. And the other thing is that the people I teach at Ebo State, I can tell you the previous class had all university students, from Makerere. One was about to graduate. He has already graduated. One is graduating this year, he has been confirmed. So he's among those who are going to graduate next month, but if you hear their testimonies and the girl who is still at campus and the ones we are teaching in this cohort, you would be surprised. You have to force them to develop a software, making a simple portfolio for themselves, like to come up with an HTML page, add CSS or Bootstrap, add the images, align them properly, is like they feel they are young. Someone is at 21, 22, but they'll be like, but David, for you, Coach David, you are too demanding, And you're just telling the person who is in the second year at university that come up with a page, and this page is not like rocket science. It's about you, going to build something which has your personal statement, build something which has the services you offer, the work you've ever done, you know, share something. And they're like, but where is the work I've ever done? And you're like, you know, in class, you've been building a small app, you've built something small, you can go to Twitter, write some, how do we call them? Go to Twitter and write some tweets, go here and do this, then use part of that as your work. And so they come, a person who is 25 does not know how to define themselves. They don't know how to define their goals. They don't know how to collect their work in terms of what they have ever done. They don't know how to promote themselves, you know. That is a dangerous thing. And to know that people are paying money, like you've said, that you're a victim, and you even end up as a lecturer in a university which has not really given you, you know, like 40% of what it would have given you. Because I understand a university, an institution, it's gonna give you maybe 10% or 15%, but let that 15% it gives you be comprehensive. You know, if they teach about software principles, let them give you a task, group you up. And yes, I understand they group you up, but when they group you up, one of you in the group is really dominant, the others are not dominant. And when you come to the lecturer is just like, okay, this is what you did, it's okay, or go back and do better. But they will never know what are your weaknesses, what are someone's weaknesses, what are their strengths, so that when we group you up, we are helping you to work in balance, so that by the time you leave university, you are people who are competent. At least even if you are not good at coding, you would be good at doing what we call breaking down, you know, a problem into a complex problem into simple modules that are solvable. You know, if you are not
or
really,
system analysis,
you know, something like that. But these are people who come when they cannot even understand what Scrum is. They don't, you know, I don't know. I really don't know, but for us, we shall do our part. I'm not saying that universities are really terrible. Even parents and the students and the community, they all have their issues, but university had better save themselves by doing the best, by offering the best they have to offer. Then we can now turn to the community, to the individual students. Without that, when universities claim, like there's a university called UTAM, I think, if you see students from this university, honestly, they are good. They can do something because I think they are few numbers. But if you go to university like Makerere, they are like 1 or 2 students from a whole, you know, course who come out and they can do something. Some of them, like I know someone who studied IT, but he ended up wanting to do code. Then he found a lot of complications. He does not know how to to connect the dots together. He's into IT, he's into code, and is torn in 2 places. So he has been back and forth, and I think now he went back into IT, giving IT services, you know, but after how many years?
That was me.
Oh, really?
That was me. Because also been in so much, I not given code much time. That's why. Because I didn't have a good foundation. The language we studied at the university was C.
Which is a good language.
And Java. And you could meet a lecturer once or twice a month.
Okay.
Comes and tells you this does this. For Java, I met a lecturer 3 times in a semester. So things became very hard.
You mean in a semester is 3 months? How long is it? It's 3 months, right?
3 to 4 months.
Yeah, now, so you meet someone for only 6 hours or even less in all of that time.
Comes, introduces, and Gives you
goes.
this, gives you the coursework, so you have to struggle around.
And I'm sure you did not have internet access to do research on your own.
Not even a
And,
computer.
Not even a computer, man. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, but I'm happy that you are here. And at least I'm one of those people who can tell you that no parent has ever bought me a computer. The family I grew up, for me, for me, it was, for me, I don't know, it is a miracle because I don't have a how I look up to. The aunt I grew up with did not go to school because she's a sickler, you know, and I was also going to Markman School of Computing to study a diploma in software development. But man, I had to work like or every day, like not every day because the lectures were two days in a week, 2 hours in a day, per session. But then you have to walk those 10 kilometers to go to school and then come back. When you have some kawanuke, you get some taxi and you go back in a taxi. And you go to school, they don't have electricity. You find that it has blacked out. You don't have a computer, so you, so you cannot even practice. When you reach school, they have these old schools. They have a lecturer who is also an adult, is boring. And if like you, at my institution, they were teaching Java, C, C++, and VB. But I can tell you, it's now when I became an adult that I realized that C and C++ are good languages. But during that time, I did not develop a single. I remember the exams they gave us, they were, how do we call it? They involved something like uh, a supermarket management system, but you had no one to break it down for you. And you know, when people look at your code, they don't tell you that here and here it's wrong. You know, you're just there. You're just there. In fact, the school closed. But so, and remember, with this school institution, it had some university students who were coming to practice. So I'm just wondering the mess we are in, you know. But for me, luckily, it was only 9 months, and I did not study it all because I did not have a lot resources. I did not graduate, but after I joined internet cafes and I was doing computer repair, networking. As whenever I get space, I do research. Whenever I get space, I do research. Somehow I found myself seeing HTML, the other day PHP, the other day JavaScript. I printed out some notes, but believe you me, JavaScript was very hard to comprehend for me. I think because English is not the first language, I don't know. PHP was a little bit easier to comprehend because you could make an HTML form and make PHP process it. So it was a little bit easier. I learned JavaScript, I think, in 2019, you know, but PHP I had already jumped on PHP from around 2014 there. But before looking at PHP, I looked at JavaScript, but I never understood a thing. And because I think also because at school they had told us about Java, so I thought maybe they are the same things. But then what I see in the tutorials is different from what I saw at school. So it was really terrible. But we are here to connect and make lives better. Yeah, at least we are going to go away when we know some good PHP, some good HTML, and we shall be able to do something. Now, the things about testing, those are things that I know there is a time when we are going to build a system together, however late it might be, and then we shall be able to do what? We shall be able to do tests so that you see them. We shall write plans, we shall do sketches, so on and so forth, because there's a lot to building software than meets the eye. You get, that's why I cannot call myself a coder. I prefer to call myself Actually, I also never call myself a web developer anymore. I call myself a software development coach because I prefer to teach people, see them transform, because I've touched a lot of things, and from the mistakes, from the denied opportunities, for me, I've learned. And now I'm willing to share that which I've learned so that other people's journey to becoming a web developer or mobile app developer, you know, does not take like a lot of years, does not need you to be frustrated enough to be frustrated a lot. Yeah, that's it. Henry, it's it's marvelous to hear your story. So you were earning from IT, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just like you, when I joined the campus, it was a self-sponsored.
Oh,
It's a big
man,
story. I can't even start. We will not start there. I started from Mapera. You know Mapera?
Mapera?
Hey.
Mapera, a school called Mapera?
No, Mapera building. That Mapera building.
Yes, I know it. Does it have a school? I thought it's a bank.
Now it is a bank right now. But me, I started from there as a reporter. I used to, that was my home.
Oh, that was your source of income.
Coming to Kampala, I stayed in Mapera. They want ID to enter, but their time it was first. So I would go from Mapera and go and study and come back. Mapera, if I work at night, in the morning, school. Work at night, in the morning, school.
Oh man, so that's hard work.
I didn't have time for these things. I found you taking too much in the lab. After class or after work, you have to go rest a bit. And I missed up things I have done long time.
Sorry about that.
That's why we give in more time now, but it's a little bit challenging, especially learning when you have a family. Basics.
Yeah, man, I totally get you.
Learning code at this time is really challenging.
Yeah, so you
hear Dumba Steven saying he's enjoying so many challenges at home.
Well, one thing I like about Mr. Steven is that he's passionate. And believe you me, unless something wrong happens, you guys are going to benefit from this because you are at a level where you know what you want. You are at a level where you know that I'm sacrificing. Like, say, for example, I can sacrifice sleep to record a YouTube tutorial for my startup, okay? And you keep canceling, and then you feel like I think I should leave it because you know you don't want to be rambling in the tutorial. And you are like, oh no, or maybe I stay close to a tertiary road. So what happens is that sometimes a heavy truck passes and it's noisy, and you don't want that to be heard in the tutorial. The other day, border, the other day, neighbor's kid, but you are like, no, let me push. For me to have what I have now, I thank God and I thank the people who have been there for me and the hard work, and the hard work. And I'm a testimony of hard work. So I'm very sure that this Mr. Steven, even if he says that, I'll check it later. For me, I'm not discouraged because I know him from from where we started, I know him from that side, and I follow him. We sometimes converse privately, and for me, I'm just encouraged that someone of his responsibility can spare time and come in my session. Someone of your responsibility, family, a wife and a child, can spare time and come in my session. For me, it's encouraging, and that's how I want to make the impact. What hurts me is to teach someone and then you find them not having opportunities. or you find them, you know, and you feel like this person wasted the time. Why didn't they choose to leave, to quit earlier? Why did they have to complete? So, you know, you'd feel embarrassed. But that being said, for me, I'm encouraged. Okay, we've had a lot of a talk. I think it is an hour now. Let me hope that some people who have attended have benefited. For me, I'm too thankful for Faith that she came in and she started on the spot as if we were interviewing her, yet we were not. So yeah, thank her. You pray for her, and yeah, Faith, are you still on? Okay, probably she's off.
Yeah, I've been here. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to give you my appreciation. Thank you very much for the wonderful experience you've shared with us today.
Thank you too. Thank you. I was worried that you guys haven't you missed your lesson for today.
No, we've not, because imagine if I had sent you like an email that please come and talk to us, you know, probably I would come at the wrong timing. Probably you would be like, I need payment. You know, something like that. But, and the other thing, you would make like a structured program for it. Probably you wouldn't even be freestyle and reveal everything we've revealed. But yeah, it's a special day. And we are not going to miss the coding. We are going to write the code. These people here are not here to, you know, yeah, they are here to really make sure that they learn the code and the rest of things. I wish you good luck with the framework, the new framework, the Yi.
Yeah. I'm actually right now. I'm also in the process of learning Python. I've been learning it for some time, but it's always been the case that I don't do anything with it each time I learn it. But this time
Just like
around,
me.
I actually intend to do something with it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
that's
one of the
great.
things
Okay.
about our field is this should not be the end, that just because you know PHP that ends. Well, it will work out for you, and maybe you can do a lot with it. But our field is a place of continuous learning. You don't stop learning. Every time there's something new that is coming up. Now people are writing code with chat what?
GPT.
GPTs. You can
Yeah.
imagine that. So
Yeah.
that's putting us also in a very tight space. If you're going to say that you're going to be using your skills, that means you have to be exceptional, because you're no longer just competing with other human beings. You're now also competing with artificial intelligence. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have to keep on learning.
Yeah, and whenever people say that, you know what, I'm worried of Chat GPT, it's gonna take our job. I'm like, think of a version of Chat GPT in your language, build it, then and see how you want to get the money.
Yeah.
Because I've read somewhere that Chat GPT is gonna release its API, so on OpenAI, so that means that we can integrate with it, include it in our apps, and quicken data analysis of businesses and so on and so forth. When it comes to Africa, we are still at a virgin territory that it's only our imagination that will limit us. But even in Europe, artificial intelligence is not taking away people, because there are problems that are going to come, but you cannot just go to artificial intelligence and develop and solve them, you know, there and then. If you are going to write a code with a Python on ChatGPT, you still need to know how to make a file in Python. You still need to know how to assemble those files and they work together. You know, you still need to know how to read and you know how to deploy. So if you don't know code to a certain level, you are still not gonna benefit from artificial intelligence. But if you know to a certain level, it's gonna make you better. And I know that most people who are afraid have now run out of the field. So those who are brave and have stayed, they are now going to become more competitive. You see, so for example, if you're a coder in many languages, or you can quickly get a, if you know like a certain language or two, and you know how to write, you can easily get a technical writing job, which is going to pay you a minimum of maybe $100 per article, and maybe to about $600 per article. So if this article is 2,000 words, and you can write it in a week, and you are in Uganda, I think this is not really bad pay, you know. So anyway, thank you, and I wish you good luck in Python. I'm like you in Python, though for me I've ever written.
Who is going to Python?
An API.
Who is going to Python? I thought you were in PHP class. Huh?
Yes, but where have you been?
Funny. Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me? So some of us, our ambitions are quite big and broad. We are looking at the space of Web3. We're looking at the space of AI, machine learning, and stuff like that. That's why we are going into Python.
Oh, okay.
Faith, see you. Let's do some coding here.
By the way,
Yeah, good night, you guys.
Your ambitions are narrow, funny.
David.
Yes, please.
How about we continue the career talk? Because 1 hour is already gone.
No, let's do some code for some minutes. No, let's do some code for some minutes. Yes, please. Who is calling my name?
To compliment is Steve.
Okay, Steve. Yes, please.
I wanted to compliment Sharon. I want to talk. Oh, I mean, not compliment. I wanted to help her with her worry that ChatGPT will take away her work. Eh?
Yeah.
For me, I have been polishing my shoes since I was a kid.
Okay.
It doesn't take away the cobbler's work. I just don't have the time to polish my shoes. I'll give my shoe to the cobbler and he will do the cleaning and finish, and I will go. It doesn't take away these dry cleaners. It doesn't do that.
In fact, I see that dry cleaners are increasing in number.
Yeah. So the coders will stay there coding. Then the Doombas will be copying their code from somewhere just for fun and end there. They not take away your job.
But you see, even that ChatGPT thing, like it also needs some sort of your creativity for you to command it to do exactly what you want. So you also have to be creative.
Yeah,
yourself. Because if you're not,
to give it.
It's also going to be tricky using that tool.
Do you know what ChatGPT did to me one day? It gave me a piece of code, and then it stopped on the way. So I told it, continue, please. I told it to continue, please. And it's like, it gave me the same code and stopped on the way. I'm like, I put in a command next, and it said, I'm sorry. That's what I could give you. Until recently, when I wrote, proceed, please, you know, that's when now it did what? That's when it started doing whatever. That's when it gave me, it continued the lines of code, but even when it continued them, it never wrote, it did not write them in the code editor. It wrote them on the where it writes normal words, and then where it writes the normal words, it wrote the code. I mean, I was like, what? So it has some errors. I know they are updating it, but I also understand that's the same thing that happened to GitHub recently. GitHub brought something called Codepilot. The moment the developers jumped on it, they said after you are testing it for a few months, then we turn it to what? To paid. Now, many developers from like take for example in Uganda, I usually reach out to SaaS developers in Europe and tell them that you guys, these things where you are charging dollars and euros, you are being inconsiderate. Could you look for a gateway that can do African currencies as well, so that we are not left behind? Because it costs you in forex exchange, to change your money to dollars. Then after that, it costs you for the transaction fee. So though the person you are paying that side is receiving the same amount is charging people in Europe, you have to pay maybe 20% on top of the normal what? Of the normal fee. So that's why you see that Africa is not going, at the top, because what are we doing? We are consuming free things, trials every day, or cracked software, or if it's not crackable, we leave it, we go back to the manual systems, and then that's the end of the story. But if we learn to utilize ChatGPT and then learn, like Faith has said, the continuous learning, building skills like, let me say, machine learning, who knows, after some time we are building a tool. As for me at Ebo State, the students I taught last cohort, we have built a payment tool, like a tool that is like, I call it a billing tool. We've connected it to a certain API so that we can offer things like domains, web hosting, completely in local currency. Instead of people having to exchange money, they will completely pay in local currency. And at the same time, we are going to enable other people to use this and sell other products in local currency, as opposed to paying in what? As opposed to paying in dollars. Then we also opt to make it integratable so that platforms like Ashnode, those blogging platforms like Patreon, where people have to go and give, how do we call them? Sponsorships to creators. For Ugandan, we know that PayPal doesn't work. Now we are left out. So we think that we can make it integratable so that platforms like those can integrate it, so that if a Ugandan is blogging or a content creator, he can easily be paid. You get? So, and that is coming out of the pain. So that is what Stephen is saying, that the Cobra's job is not going away, because us, if we concentrate on our platforms, on platforms that can solve our problems, I can very surely tell you that even if you know PHP alone, you can build something, and in 2 years from now, you can be one of the richest people, or you can start earning money and invest in those automated tools. So the person who's going to learn Python and continue adding on their skills, they are on a good side. The person who is just perfecting the skills they have, like, let me say, in PHP or HTML, and add on complementary skills, they are safe. The person who's just going to learn ChatGPT alone and use it, they are also safe. So these skills are just complementary. So Sharon, you sent me your code, but the platform you used to send, the code expires. So I don't know if it has not yet expired. So you saved yourself to pay the penalty. But I understand, Sharon, you could be knowing some GitHub. So you can put the code there in a gist and share with me the gist link. Then other people, Henry, Steven, who else? Those people did not come and they have not yet submitted their work. So each one who hasn't submitted this work, because if any, how much? If you don't remember, you are going to pay the penalty.
Sorry?
I have mine.
Your what?
Maybe I'm
work.
behind.
Your work?
David,
Okay. Yes?
I am really behind. I missed last time. Being busy with the solver, the new solver.
Yeah.
I missed it. We have an assignment.
Yes, there's this time we did some work, some code. I don't know, like it was a Tuesday, I think, and we gave assignments. By the way, has anyone heard from Peter? Because he said
David, when was the deadline?
When was the deadline? The deadline would work was supposed to be brought on Saturday, but
I'm
many
left with
people did
one
not attend
number.
on Saturday. So the deadline changes
Can I
to the
submit
next
like that?
Saturday. Please, you should submit on Saturday and complete all your numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see Peter here. Peter, are you hearing? Are you able to speak?
How do I get the assignment?
Your colleagues can help you. They will send you a piece of code, and that piece of code has the assignment. Yes. They'll share it. Yeah.
Then have you heard?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let's continue to loops. But before continuing to loops, people who are not here on Saturday, we started, is it when we started the loops? Isn't it? Fanny and Sharon, isn't it Saturday that we started the loops? Yeah, she says yes. Yes, we started loops, and since we've already spoken a lot, we are not going to go behind in that, but you know, there is a live session on the YouTube channel. So what we are going to do, we are going to continue with the loops today and look at one loop, and then we shall call it a day and continue with others. I don't know how I can cut this, but guys, do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cut this live stream and then start a new live stream, which will have the code so that there can be 2 live streams. The first one, I'll just, the first one, what I'll do, I'll go rename it to career discussion. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start by stopping the sharing. I think that's how the stream, let me see if I can stop the